Viewers, in the clash against China, 20 Indian braves sacrificed the most precious gift any one of us can ever hope to get. That is the gift of life. You will remember the sacrifices, viewers, of the men to the extreme right of your screens. From Sepoy Ojha to Sepoy Rajesh Urang to Colonel Santosh Babu, 17 others, selflessly, without flinching, they sacrificed their everything for this country. They didn't hesitate. They didn't call into question the policies of the government that wanted them to stand firm in the shifting sands of eastern Ladakh. Never once did they allow themselves to be shaken by the feckless conviction of certain politicians. Yet, viewers, our political class and a certain section of the privilegencia in this country can't even sacrifice their need to score petty political points. Think about it. Our braves sacrificed their lives, and certain elements within the privilegencia and the political class can't even sacrifice their compulsive need to play politics. In a crude and bitter attack, the opposition and several defense experts that belong to a particular tribe dismissed as a stunt the Modi government's decisive digital strike on Chinese apps. Now, viewers, these are no ordinary apps. These are apps that the government says are Trojan horses being transmitted almost like a virus through this country to breach our privacy and abet in data theft. Now, these are 21st century crimes, viewers, because you know how nations can be compromised because their adversaries access information that is critical to consensus in a democracy, and also, of course, most importantly, viewers, information that is vital to securing the robustness of institutions. Now, viewers, I want you to pay attention to what has been done by this government. Now, viewers, last night at around this time, the government decided to ban 59 Chinese apps, or at least made that decision public. The digital strike has rattled Beijing. Beijing has come out and said that this and other measures that are being contemplated could cost, in value terms, 30% of Chinese exports to this country, or Chinese trade to this country. That's a huge hit. $5.5 billion are invested in Indian startups between 2015 and 2019. Just that 1 year. 16 out of 29 Indian startups worth $1 billion has at least one Chinese investor. The next step could be to make it very, very difficult for these Chinese investors to get a piece of the action here in India. Yet, the strikes have been dismissed as having little more than token symbolic value. It was a tribute, in one sense, to the valor of our martyrs, but it is being reduced to a political football by certain elements within the opposition, privilegencia, and a section of military intelligentsia. Let's first listen in to the criticism. Listen in, viewers.
BJP's commitment to India's sovereignty and integrity reeks of hypocrisy and lacks seriousness. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, India's symbol of sovereignty and integrity. Even his statue was made by China under the orders of the BJP government. BJP must explain why 553 large bronze board were imported from China as per the CAG report. BJP must apologize and shun its Make in India on TV and buy from China and reality policy.
This is a ban which is not enforceable at all. Let India indulge in surgical strikes against China. BJP government believes in jingoism, in raising the pitch against China. I do not believe in jingoism, I believe in nationalism.
We are living in a digital world, and even our Prime Minister keeps speaking about digital India. In such a situation, how far this measure is going to serve the purpose of ending the present standoff between India and China? We do not know.
Viewers, as I told you, $5.5 billion invested in Indian startups between 2015 and 2019, 16 out of 29. The figures will come on your screens. Indian startups worth $1 billion has at least one Chinese investor. 6 out of the top 10 most downloaded apps in India are Chinese apps. 4.9 billion downloads of banned 59 apps since 2014. Viewers, these are big numbers. Rupees 500 crores combined annual revenue of banned 59 Chinese apps. Viewers, that's going to be the hit to China. 500 crores. 66% combined market share of delisted apps. Imagine if Indian innovators start filling in that gap with Indian platforms, how much we will gain from a ready market of consumers. More figures, 100, and let's just focus on TikTok for just a few seconds, viewers. TikTok itself, 119 million TikTok users in this country. Through all of you out there who use TikTok, TikTok's parent company earned 3.7 crores a day from all of you viewers. Over 550 crore hours spent by Indian users in 2019, which means that TikTok must be earning so much more from ad revenue and other proxy sources of income. 90% increase in Indian TikTok users just last year, viewers, and 20%, this is a very important figure, 20% of TikTok users are Indian. And as you know, TikTok has been under the scanner for not only censoring anti-China views, but also, viewers, spreading videos that undermine the fight against corona. You will remember that. Yet there are people here who say that this is a purely symbolic strike. And I want to open this out without delay. First of all, let me bring in the BJP national spokesperson, Amit Malviya. Amit Malviya, respond to the charge. You've heard the opposition, you've heard the Rahul Gandhis of the world, you've heard the TMC leaders who've come out and said that they believe in jingoism and not, they believe in nationalism and not jingoism, unlike Mr. Modi. All of this is playing to the galleries, it's tomfoolery. It is completely token, it is symbolic, it is expedient politically. All the charges have been thrown at you. Respond to these charges.
Well, Rahul, first of all, I'm not quite sure if the opposition realizes that it continues to contradict itself. If this decision is not such a big one, then why bother in the first place? And if a market of 130 crore people is not significant, then clearly there is no argument that the opposition has. But the fact of the matter is that it is for the first time that a decision has been taken, and a decision that has sent out an unequivocal message that you cannot mess around with us on the borders and continue to leverage our markets and build your businesses. We are quite open to international companies. We are part of the global supply chain. We understand global markets. We understand digital economy. But all of it comes at a price. It comes without compromising India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Now, that is a message that has gone out very clearly. As far as some of these apps are concerned, I can tell you Indian innovators can create more number of apps, perhaps better ones. Now the opportunity is there. I was just looking at Roxo, for example. It has 65 million downloads and is doing exceedingly well. Why can't you have a situation where Indian innovators get the same opportunities that some of these Chinese ones do? And by the way, the fact is that globally, it is the Indians who are driving some of these innovations. Why is it that we can't have this ecosystem back here in India?
Okay.
And lastly, if China, which has regulated its economy to the point that you don't even have popular applications like Facebook and Twitter allowed to work there, why is it that they should be extended courtesy of a red carpet in countries like India, which by far are the most active and largest market that anybody would seek out? It's for the first time that the government of India has put its weight behind the potential that its market and its people offer. And lastly, Rahul, this is a campaign that was spearheaded by the people of India. If you recollect, the genesis of this campaign lies in what the people set out to do. The government has merely taken it to the next level, and that should be welcomed.
Okay, government is fulfilling, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, the people's immediate demand. What do you have to say to the comments made by certain opposition leaders?
Good evening, Rahul. I'm absolutely flabbergasted by the opposition to this move. The fact of the matter is that the clock has been and is ticking and talking for China. Not only must it be punished for ruining the world economy by hiding the extent and danger posed by corona and then willfully spreading it across the world, but also for disrespecting the LAC and transgressing it, resulting in the martyrdom of 20 of our bravest soldiers. We need to teach this bully a lesson. Make no mistake, India banning the 59 Chinese apps was not for reasons of national sovereignty, cybersecurity or privacy. Because if that were the case, these apps should not have been allowed to run and transact here in the first place.
True.
This was a defense move. At long last, India has begun to overtly use economic and trade sanctions as a legitimate weapon of war. This is what superpowers like the US do before unleashing or in lieu of physical weapons. They are much more dangerous and cause much more damage than conventional weapons. But we never overtly did this. We never used them as weapons of war. For decades, even as Pakistan continued to inflict terror on us through wars and through their death by 1,000 cuts doctrine, we continued to grant it the most favored nation status. A week before Pulwama, India welcomed Pakistan's Indus Water Commissioner and his team. They toured our dam, inspected our installation, then went back and promptly slandered us. We aren't hard negotiators, Rahul. Losing Aksai Chin, even as we burned the midnight oil to get China the Security Council seat, freeing 90,000 Pakistani prisoners of war, even as we refused to bargain to get POK back. There are dozens of such examples. Perhaps things are changing for the better. My only worry is, please give me 30 seconds, that if these sanctions have their effect on the border standoff negotiations with China, and China gets the message and agrees to back off, we would have to renege on this app ban. In any case, the time has come to think of long-term economic disengagement with China dictatorship. We export 18 billion worth of goods to China and import $73 billion worth from it. Finally, to all those, especially the Congress and the communists supporting China in this, I hope when you sleep tonight, the tortured faces of the million Uyghur Muslims interned in concentration camps by China appear in your dreams. Shame on you, you Islamophobes.
There you go. That's a very direct attack. Mohandas Pai, you are of course part of the IT industry, an integral part of it. Many people are saying that this is not going to in any way jolt China. That's not exactly the truth, because we do know that the Chinese are fretting. They're hot and bothered under their stiff collars. And I want you to explain to our viewers why this will begin to pinch, hurt, and even humiliate the Chinese.
Rahul, the tech community in India has broadly welcomed this move, because for a long period of time they were coming here using our territory to expand their business. They're using enormous amount of capital coming here. It's not that they have great innovation. We also have the innovation. What we lacked was the capital. Every year, China invests $65 billion, a large part of it coming from government sources. India only invests 12-13 billion, 90% coming from outside. The Chinese have invested $8 billion out of $60 billion from 2014 till now. Are we going to miss them? We're not going to miss them, because when it comes to national security, there's no compromise. Now, we are going to see a flowering of innovation. There are many apps like Mitra, which already got 10 million downloads. Our young people are developing. Today itself, I was speaking to somebody. They're all raising capital. In the next 6 months, you'll see a flowering of digital apps coming in a very big way, because we can do without it. Now, look at what China has done to India. For the last 10 years, we have a $500 billion hole in our trade. We have opened up the market for China. China is subsidizing their goods here, and they're dumping it here. Indian companies cannot compete. And of course, Indian traders go there and buy cheap and come and sell here. They do it, and they don't allow us to export to China. I've been going to China since 1999 from the IT industry. I've seen myself how they work. The state-owned enterprises will not allow the Indian private sector to come. They shun you away. They're very nationalistic. They only want the Chinese, and they're very all together. But they try to come here and do it, and that is why I think we are seeing. And then there are security issues. If you look at Huawei, we are not very sure where the data goes. TikTok data, we are not very sure where it goes. They say it is in Singapore. I don't think so. We have seen for all the Chinese companies, the data going there. We had a problem with Zoom. So there's a data security issue. There is an issue of not opening the market, playing by the rules. They have the firewall for China, but they don't allow outsiders to come in and to proliferate. They only expand the country. So I don't see why we should do it. It's a great move by the government. Now, how will it impact China? Now, the biggest companies have become these digital companies, and India is a very big market, because India may not give them the kind of revenue the US does, but the revenue is growing, but they give them eyeballs. And for all of them, the eyeballs for advertising makes all the difference.
Yes.
And I think it's going up. So I think it will impact them very well. And this will send a message to the rest of the world. Let me quote here. Send a message to the rest of the world what they have to do. Already in America, we are seeing a very big fight coming there, where the American government doesn't want Chinese companies to be in NASDAQ unless they follow the American rules. All of us, when we list in America, we follow the American rules. The Chinese don't follow the American rules. And we are seeing also that Huawei is being shut out of Singapore. We've seen in the UK government going back and saying, yes, we're conscious of this. We are seeing it happening here. So the global reaction to the fact that China doesn't open the market, they're not transparent, we don't know what they do with the data, the PLA and the government is totally linked with all the companies. The other day I just read a report which said that even Alibaba's founder Jack Ma's shares are held by somebody else, not Jack Ma.
Oh, yes.
So we don't know what is happening. I think it came on your TV channel somewhere.
Yes,
it's going to hurt China, because they have to look for another market to give them 100, 200 million eyeballs, and there are not many markets where they can grow.
The Chinese are the biggest abusers of fair trade practices, viewers. Mercantilist, new imperialist power that tries to, under its jackboot, smash everyone else's economy to smithereens, playing dirty, fixing currencies, doing all sorts of underhand things. But there is a group in this country that doesn't want Chinese business interests to be hit. This is, without doubt, a politically expedient and, very importantly, a move in the national interest on the back of Chinese aggression. So anyone who's opposing it is opposing a tribute really to the sacrifice of our martyrs. I really want to bring in Rajiv Desai here, public affairs expert. Mr. Desai, I'm sure you today support this move. You support the Indian Army.
What does that have to do with anything?
Everything.
No, I'm an Indian. I, of course, support the army. But my point is that there's a claim that there's a border clash in the Gawang Valley, a claim which the Prime Minister has denied. They said no Chinese troops came into, he said nobody came into our territory, nobody occupied any post of ours. So I don't understand what this whole fuss is about. If they've taken your territory, and if they've attacked you, and according to reports, they've killed 20 of our soldiers, then by all means, fight them on the military front. What is this economic posturing? I mean, you have to be realistic. You can't, this is not a David and Goliath biblical kind of story, because that's really the truth. we are a small little economy compared to the Chinese and the Americans and so forth. And yeah, you may throw a few stones at them and you may scratch them a bit. But in the end, I mean, it isn't going to. Already I hear that there are talks underway to review some of these issues with the companies concerned. So I mean, it's one thing to posture; it's another thing to solidify the national interest. And it's a third, completely different thing to understand the economic interest. Why should the economic interest always be stamped upon? I don't understand it. See, the only reason I think this has been done is because this government is being led by the bureaucrats. They've given up the ghost of policy making, and everything is run by bureaucrats. And the first thing that the bureaucrats respond to any uncertain situation, ban the damn thing. Just ban it. Stop it. Stop everything. So this is the way they operate. You're not going to get anywhere with this. You'll fight 5 days, 6 days, and then you'll be back. I mean, why go through all this nonsense? Why not strengthen yourself on the border? Why not, stand up to them militarily at that place and say you can't do this?
Them militarily. You see, viewers, I've allowed Rajiv Desai to speak today. The only reason I've done so is because it exposes just how ill-informed some of us are in this country. I really resisted and bit down on my tongue. I wanted to get in there and say, I think you've got it wrong, but you just heard this, viewers. If you want to challenge the Chinese, build up your forces, fight them at the border, as if our men who are at the border have tucked their tails between their legs and fled. No, they've actually given their lives to protect every square inch of Indian land. I just want you, viewers, for 30 seconds, in the light of what Mr. Desai has said, just look at these pictures of the men who gave up their lives. We're going to put out those 20 names. 20 names. I just want you to. Let's put those visuals out of the 20 names, Nizam Bhai. Let's put them out there in the corner. Maybe Rajiv Desai needs to reacquaint himself with those names. Havaldar Palani, Sepoy Ojha. Ring a bell? Mr. Desai, ring a bell? Ring a bell? Sepoy Rajesh Urang. Ring a bell, Mr. Desai? Ring a bell? No? Does it not? Don't you remember these 20 braves?
You're doing, Rahul.
I'm asking you. You don't remember? You don't remember them? You don't remember them? You think they put their tails between their legs? Actually, you were the one. Actually, you were the one who said that they froze to death.
What you're taking?
You're the one who said they froze to death. Actually, I remember you. You were on this show a couple of days back, last week, and you said they froze to death. They just froze to death. We let them die out in the cold. I remember what you said. I thought it was very insensitive, but I think this beats it tonight. This beats it. This really beats it. If you don't think that this government is doing this, if you don't think this government is doing it to uphold the valor of our forces, then you've really got it wrong, sir. I think you've got it really wrong.
Responding to my argument.
I think you got it. I've responded. Don't you think, sir? Don't you think trade sanctions is a part and parcel of international diplomacy? Where were you when the Americans, you have a great American accent, but where were you when the Americans, where were you, Mr. Desai, when the Americans, when the great Americans that so inspire you were actually trade sanctioning many big countries, including the Soviet Russia, as well as China, as well as, of course, in the past, Iran. Where were you? Where were you when Singapore has decided to impose sanctions? Where were you when Australia has imposed sanctions? Why don't you ever tweet against these countries? Anyhow, I don't want to get into a tutu meme. I don't want to get into a tutu meme, sir. You asked me to counter you. I've asked you to explain yourself. You have. I've countered you. Let's move on.
A game of chicanery.
Let's move. No, not chicanery, sir. There's no chicanery. India's acted. We have spoken with conviction. We have acted with conviction. There is no chicanery. There's no chicanery. There is no chicanery. If you really have sympathies for Chinese products, go buy them. Buy the diapers. buy the nappy rash, buy all the buy all the toys, buy all the raddi plastic, no problems, do it. You're at full liberty. Those have not been banned. Order them on Amazon, whatever you want to do, buy it. But don't be irascible. Let me bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan on this point. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, you heard the diatribe from Rajiv Desai uninterrupted. What do you make of it?
Rahul, what Mr. Desai said was absolutely shocking and flies in the face of logic. I'm afraid I can't even say learn something from Tehseen because he's worse. What is Mr. Desai talking about? Does he not know that imposing economic and trade sanctions is a Brahmastra? It works much more potently than a conventional weapon. It can destroy nations. And when his government was in power, his party was in power and running the government, so many times it supported in the United Nations, America, that had imposed sanctions on other countries. What is he talking about? And can I just say, at a much more philosophical level, because as you were saying, you had to bite your lip. Honestly, I don't know what I had to bite inside. I think to actually, just withstand that diatribe. But, let me explain why it is important in the short term as well as in the long term to economically disengage with China. Because believe it or not, it will be good for the suppressed millions or billions of Chinese as well. Let me explain. 20 seconds. Right now, there are about 60 nations out of 200 odd that qualify as functioning democracies. Call them D60. What will force dictatorships to become democracy? What will force 140 nations to establish rule of law and freedom enjoyed by D60? To trade exclusively with D60 might appear impossible right now, but we must plan for it. Did we trade with apartheid South Africa for 40 years? At that time, one of the richest economies? No. Even though the guardians of human rights, America and Britain did. China is worse than the apartheid regime. We have to think the short term and long term for our India's benefit as well as for the Chinese people's benefit, with whom we have no quarrel whatsoever.
Now let me tell you, viewers, Mr. Desai says that these trade boycotts don't serve a purpose. Do you know two men, Mahatma Gandhi and Abraham Lincoln? You know what connects them? The trade boycott. Mahatma Gandhi broke the back of British imperialism by calling for a boycott of British products made from Indian raw material and exported back here to India. And Abraham Lincoln, he stood for the abolition of slavery, another form of the exploitation of a fellow human being. And the way he went about breaking the Confederacy in the South, in America, was by calling for a boycott of sugar. He smashed them to smithereens. That's what economic boycotts can do. It makes the tyrants grovel. Tehseen Poonawalla, do you agree or do you disagree?
Rahul, thank you for finally getting me into the debate after 23 minutes. You've not interrupted anybody. I suspect the same respect would be accorded to me. To begin with, Anand and Anand, do not interrupt me. If you stop telling lies about me, I will stop telling the truth about you, because your argument was as thin as a homeopathic soup, and homeopathic is pseudo-medicine. So let me come to the crux of my argument. Rahul, I read your piece this evening in the Times of India website on the banning of apps, and while I agree it was well written, I humbly disagree with you. Let me give you some facts, and please fact check this from Amit or whoever's in the fact check team right now. April 16, TikTok was banned by Government of India. April 25th, the ban was lifted. On April 28th, PM Cares receives 30 crore rupees from TikTok. June 6th, Government of India launches itself on TikTok. June 29th, that is yesterday, Government of India says it bans TikTok, broken on times now. June 30th, Government of India invites TikTok for a clarification. My limited point is, Rahul, first, if the government knew that TikTok is stealing our data, as Mr. Pai rightfully says, then why is the government on TikTok? Why did it give it a chance? Why did the government accept money from a thief? My second point, this is where I would like to end, Rahul. Like I said, you wrote for the Times of India this evening. The Times of India continuously says, and it's the new images, satellite images that have come out, that China is between finger 4 and finger 8 and has established itself and its Martyrs territory in the Galwan Valley, which on June 12, 1962, Times of India front page said that India has not lost the Galwan Valley, it's held on to it. Today, India is inside. A tribute to all these martyrs would be If the Prime Minister tells us honestly when will he kick China out of the territory it's currently occupying, rather than coming in about some app from which he's taken money, which he says has invaded privacy and is stealing data, and his own government is on that app. If it was stealing data and it was a threat to our country, why did the government not ban it earlier? Is my limited point. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to say one.
No, 1 second. You've done enough damage to this debate. Now let Tehseen do it. Now let Tehseen do it. Let Tehseen do it and shoot himself in the foot.
Why did he first deny
it's okay.
that there was an
Mr. Desai, calm down. Let's not get so hot and bothered. Calm down. You made a big boo-boo tonight. Come on, relax, calm down. You don't want to keep repeating. You don't want to keep. You don't want to keep falling over yourself. Now relax, calm down. Let the debate progress. There's also Ghanshyam Tiwari. He'll accuse me of not coming into him till the 25th minute. So, it is tick-tocking the clock on this debate. I want to go straight across to Amit Malviya. Amit Malviya, respond to Mr. Tehseen Poonawala on the question of how TikTok India, which is actually an Indian company, really, because it has an office here, pays taxes here, contributed to PM CARES Fund, which is managed by the Prime Minister's office in national interest. Would you like to explain to him? He calls it a contradiction.
The problem with the Congress and its apologists is that they see the PM CARES Fund in the same vein as the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, which is controlled by the Sonia Gandhi family. The distinction has to be made clear to them that one is a public fund where millions of people, including corporates and individuals, have donated to. Now, it is to the credit of the government that irrespective of some of these companies donating to the PM CARES Fund, the government of the day has taken a decision to ban them. I think it speaks volumes of the government's ability to take decisions despite some of these factors, which may have had an overhang in the discussion when they were on the table. But having said that, is the argument that why have you banned it now? Are they questioning the timing? Are they questioning the decision? Is there an appropriate time to take the right decision? It can be taken whenever the time comes. And importantly, in foreign policy and diplomacy, it is not just what you're saying, but also what you mean to be saying is important. And the timing of this decision leaves no one in doubt why it has been taken. And the last point on our military strength, which I heard Mr. Desai speak about, I think he forgets that while we had 20 martyrs, we have inflicted huge amount of casualty on the Chinese. Various estimates peg the death and injuries about 40 on the Chinese side. It's probably for the first time since 1979 that the Chinese have had to face battle fatalities. It's not something that the Chinese are used to. And how did it happen? It happened because the government of the day empowered the army to take the decision that it thought it was right. And our men in hand-to-hand combat have taken out the Chinese. What do you think this has done to the Chinese morale? Do you realize that when they hide their martyrs and don't give them the respect that they deserve, it tells you that they're hiding somewhere because they have no face to show? Don't these guys understand this?
Respond.
I think they don't, but the rest of the country does.
Mr. Tiwari, I'll quote you a Chinese proverb. The Chinese say that strike at the time of your choosing. India has done that. It's a very political message. It might be thinly, disguised as an action taken to get around certain legal loopholes, but let's not be in any doubt about why it's been taken. It's been taken to avenge the martyrdom, to honor the martyrdom of our 20 braves and countless others who were injured, some grievously, in what was Chinese jingoism. Should India not be doing that? Is that a crime to act, to tell China, sorry, it can't be business as usual, the operative word being business? Is it a crime in your book?
तो वो धोखे से हमारा मैप बदल रहे हैं और हम मुट्ठी भर ऐप बदल रहे हैं. This is the government of India response. In March 2020, a BJP MP, Dr. Subhash Sarkar, asked in Lok Sabha to Minister of Home Affairs whether TikTok app poses any counterintelligence threat to the country. The minister, Shri G. Krishna Reddy, said no such inputs have come to the notice of the government. In March, again, PIB launches its TikTok channel. Go and watch see their Twitter handle. It says, hey, we are on TikTok. You ask Amit Malviya, did they use TikTok and other Chinese apps like Hello and put their leaders on there for their advertisement? Did they spend money on TikTok as a party in advertising on TikTok? You will not get a straight answer. The problem with lying machines of Bharatiya Janata Party is they speak for the moment today. They will not care about the facts that stand in the face of their own government. Last year, in 2019, the government had asked a question to TikTok about banning these apps. Why did the government go back on its own word? They asked a question to Hello, it went back on its own word. It asked a question to TikTok, and then it accepts money from these companies. This government does not have a mind and a conscience. It only reacts to street messages, and today it has reacted to a street message. The point is, here's a government that stands against privacy of Indian citizens, drags its feet for 3 years to create privacy laws. The Mozilla CEO is blaming Indian government for not protecting Indian citizens. The Chinese apps demand more privacy, more permissions than any typical app. But this government would like to sleep, would like to misinform its citizens. And one day, suddenly it will say that if they change maps, we will change apps. This is a weak response from Government of India.
Okay, weak response. Now, usually money is paid. Correct me if I'm wrong. Since you're raising your hand, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, money is paid. Anand Ranganathan, since you're raising your hand, money is paid usually to elicit some favor. Now, if money was being paid by TikTok, India, etc., it wants to curry favor with the Indian establishment. Now, Modi seems to be a person who doesn't care about the money he gets, even if it is in the PM Cares Fund, which actually he controls. It didn't allow him, that money was not seen by him as some sort of bribe. He's acted. I don't understand what the fuss is about. If he had taken the money and still not acted, I couldn't understand, like the Congress did. They welcomed money into the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. God alone knows what that money was used for, except to push for an FTA with China, which would have completely made us a vassal state, like Pakistan and Sri Lanka are of China, and Nepal is soon going to become. That's okay. That's okay. But a person accepts someone's money as a gesture of goodwill and perhaps even, I don't know, perhaps even patronage. But if you reject it, if you act against them, what do you become? You become a hero, isn't it? Yes, so Modi is being crucified because he's a hero, because he's actually not allowed himself to be bribed, allegedly, by Chinese money. Wow, isn't that great?
Yes, Rahul, as I was saying, you can go piece by piece into all of these arguments that some of my esteemed fellow panelists are making. And they are really not worth the paper they are written on or they are speaking out from. I mean, I'm afraid this is a commentator's curse, because just yesterday I praised to the skies Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari for making such wonderful points, and today I'm afraid he's been disappointing. What is the logic of his statement? Okay, so let me explain this. China exports $70 billion worth of goods. So, of course, we were friendly with China. Now, you can go and, nitpick on each and every of these thousands of companies, Chinese companies that have been trading with us, and say, oh, but yesterday you were trading with China. Yes, of course we were, bhai. Our trade deficit was $50-60 billion. So that is not the point. The point is we were trading with China in spite of the fact that we had a $50 billion deficit. But right now this move is not economic or trade. This move is a defense move. We need to show and have an upper hand in this is a negotiating tactic, please understand. So please do not go pillaring all those people who till yesterday were having, a very flourishing business with Chinese companies. I mean, that is such a facetious argument. I do not expect this from a person of extreme intelligence as Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari.
Well, let me tell you, and I want to bring in Mohandas Pai. Mohandas Pai, we fought 2 and several unofficial battles with Pakistan. I don't remember the Congress party ever saying that Pakistani businessmen, Pakistani actors, Pakistani culturati, Pakistani politicians can't come to India, can't invest in India. Don't remember that. I mean, it's not as if the Chinese did not take over, or at least try to take over Indian land. Aksai Chin was taken over through deception, through a Pakistani-Chinese ploy. Yet, it didn't stop the Congress party from sending emissaries even till the last few months to Pakistan.
Rahul,
what's the problem here?
Nobody will believe, despite China attacking India in 1962, India still supported China for a seat in the Security Council. How can you do that? How can you compromise on your own country? This is your country. You got to defend your country. And China has been a country which is a hegemon, which has been against India. They came to India in 1962. And our army has been beaten down by the government of the day, and they humiliated the army. Our troops fought bravely. They never had shoes. They never had clothes. That's the kind of government we had. And after the defeat, we still go support them in the United Nations, say they deserve the seat. At a time when America was asking us to come to the United Nations, any government worth its salt would take another seat. You have to look after national interest, not somebody's interest. Now, we have had governments looking after other countries' interest, looking after Pakistani's interest. They allowed the Pakistani terrorists to come here. They never went after them. And I have it on record, Rahul, from a very important person who's no more today, that during that government's time, when the Pakistanis shelled India, our Indian troops were told not to shell back, because they said don't shell back and escalate. Today, if they shell once, we shell them 5 times, because Pakistan and other countries are bullies. They're all bullies. We got to show them what we are, then only they will stop. You don't allow a bully to come inside your house and take away your property. And now the same kind of people are talking that, you took that statue. Why did you do that? Forget about all that, what happened in the past. Like Ranganathan said, we have been trading till yesterday. Today we don't want to trade. Like President Trump did, we have been trading with China. You've been exploiting. You're not opening a market. I'm going to put this tariff till you change your behavior. Now with China, the only thing that works, you show them what we can do to them. We handed our market to them. We're handing over the best companies to them. We're calling them, come inside and have fun at our cost. They don't open up their market.
Absolutely.
They build a road to a territory. And then they tell us, join the Belt and Road. It's so ridiculous. A territory we claim, they build a road, and then they come and tell us, why are you not...
And look at the objections.
Look at the absurdity of all the arguments. These people are falling for it.
Absolutely.
The party saying they're all rubbish.
China doesn't even allow Indian IT majors, Indian IT innovators into their side of the fence. Not allowed, no one around the world. But we must host them. Mr. Pai, we must host them. How bizarre is that? How bizarre is that? And when the Indian government decides, even though, according to the opposition, the Indian government has received funds from the Chinese companies that it has banned, even when we do that, it is thought to be a stunt and a sellout. I don't know. Incurable negativism coming from certain set of individuals today. Come on. Come on. Our Jawans sacrificed their lives. I'm sure some of you sitting in opposition today can sacrifice your urge to score a couple of cheap, underhand political points. Doesn't take very much.